Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be doing my 14.5 jungle tier list, so if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. There were a lot of buffs and nerfs this patch, mainly focused around some of the elite picks, which are performing really well at the moment, and on top of this we saw some buff ups towards some of the champs which have been slightly underperforming. Plus a couple of bug fixes to Rek'Sai. She also did get hotfix bug fixed as well, as her W was not knocking up when it should have been, and that has definitely resulted in the champion performing quite well this patch. But let's cover it. So Kayn was Kayn is mainly focused around red, as red Kayn has been underperforming this season. The bruiser options just aren't very good for him. He doesn't really value Cindered Sky like old Gore Drinker, which was a valuable item for him, and kind of why red Kayn was viable for the most part last season. This season, it's not doing really very well at the moment. Even with the buffs towards red Kayn this patch, he's still sat at like the B tier. Yeah, the changes weren't enough. It was like a 5% health ratio towards the healing, and it was a 10% AD ratio towards the ultimate. The main problem it has at the moment is when you opt into lethality, you are able to pick up a lot of damage. And when you're able to pick up that much damage, you are able to convert a lot of it into healing. The problem is, red Kayn, not having as great build options, cared more about the lethality options than the bruiser options, as being able to do more damage was just converting into more health, kind of just making him inherently tanky compared to just having those tankier items, which is creating a problem at the moment. It's obviously the same thing which Aatrox falls into at the moment, which is why they are changing him next patch. But overall, red Kayn still not performing very well. You mostly just want to opt into lethality, continuing from last patch. And then yes, blue Kayn still also really good. If you are playing Kayn, I'd only really recommend playing him into very squishy comps where you can make value out of the likes of Dark Harvest, First Strike, and where blue Kayn can be quite valuable, as you are able to one shot and just pick off targets. But yeah, he's going to stay within the S tier. Just a solid blue, if you're going blue Kayn, he's just a solid assassin option. Jarvan is going to be moving up into my A tier. He's towards the higher end of the A tier, as he's very simplistic to play, and he's definitely someone who I'd recommend, as he tends to be on the decent side, as like a strong early game, mid game champion. Of course, the loss of Shojin the nerf towards Shojin from last season to this season has definitely hurt him a significant amount. He also really valued the likes of Gore Drinker and Stridebreaker as first option slots compared to Cindered Sky, but now that he has been buffed, both these options are, Cindered Sky into Shojin is primarily what you want to be going. Picking up something like Asterix third gives him strong frontline options, and then GA is also a really valuable item on him, as he can utilize the damage, the armor into a lot of comps, combined with the stasis, combined with the revive, it can be really valuable, as it can allow him to rotate another combo when he gets back up. Of course, this can be dependent on games. Sometimes you do want to opt into tankier options later on, as that can be the best route to go. Rek'Sai is going to be moving up into my S tier. So Rek'Sai is performing quite well. She's actually definitely benefited from all the bug fixes she's had. Of course, she did get buffed this patch. They didn't really know where she was going to land, so I kind of imagine that was the goal there. But with the changes, she is definitely a solid S tier pick. Stridebreaker and Titanic are both very competitive first slot options. Titanic, if you are looking for a bit more durability, can be a solid option. Stridebreaker, if you are looking to engage onto like the backline, and you do like your main goal is to pick, and being able to catch someone is very vital towards you, then yes, Stridebreaker is the best option there. Cindered Sky and Cleaver, it kind of depends on like, are you able to utilize Cindered Sky to get multiple procs on people? On top of this, are you able to get like full value out of the damage? If not, then Cleaver can be a solid option into tankier comps, as that has a lot of value for the armor pen on the item. Asterix, Shojin, also great options on Rek'Sai, and then something like a GA can also be a really good last slot option as well. Moving on, so Wukong is going to be moving up into my A tier. He received a buff towards his passive this patch. it now works at 100% effectiveness on 5 stacks rather than 50 on 10. On top of this, the stack counter now decays by 1 rather than falling off all in one go. And overall, it's definitely helped his skirmishing power. It also helps with being able to fight the likes of Lee Sin, Graves a bit more frequently within his jungle, as he's able to get those stacks up faster and he's able to maintain them for longer. So that is very crucial and allows Wukong to be a lot more powerful against a lot of the AD roster within the jungle. On the nerf side of things, Bel'Veth is going to be moved down towards the S tier. She is still very strong off Kraken and Stridebreaker, but the nerfs to her E have definitely taken a bit of a hit. She's no longer as tanky. You have to utilize it more effectively rather than just being able to kind of get away with murder in a sense. But yeah, she's still a very solid option. Definitely more of an elite skewed pick. I'd recommend putting a lot of games into the champion to really get a feel for it. But yeah, she's still a solid option. Brand also going to stay over my S tier. In fact, he's quite close to being dropped down to the A tier. He took a bit of a hit this patch. They did buff him primarily for jungle, but the nerfs towards his ultimate definitely outweighed those buffs. And yes, he is now towards the bottom of the S tier. He's still a solid AP option and one of the better ones if you are looking for something fairly easy to pilot. Yeah. Eve is actually going to drop down to my A tier, so Lichbane being nerfed combined with Eve's Q losing a 5% AP ratio has actually done quite a bit to hit the champion. You do have to snowball really heavily now. You can't kind of just get away with sitting on like an early Medjai's and then just hoping that you can get the stacks and then snowballing from there. You do want to pick up the Medjai's when you now have a good amount of Dark Steel stacks. Of course, you still do want this item. If you're not able to really snowball as Eve, you are very much punished for it. Rabadon's is still a great option on her, but yeah, you are looking at something like Lichbane, Medjai's if you can go that route. If not, then Rabadon's is still a really good solid second option. Protobelt was buffed this patch, but it doesn't seem to be as performant as her other options. But yeah, you still definitely just want to be looking towards that Lichbane, Medjai, Rabadons, and then Void or Crypt Bloom, depending on what kind of option you need in the game. Yeah, she's dropped down to the A tier. She's definitely been hit quite heavily this patch. Maokai is going to move. Well, actually, Maokai's going to stay over my B tier. So they nerfed Maokai this patch. They nerfed his movement speed by 5. They nerfed his W by 1 second cooldown at all ranks. But they buffed up his early jungle clear. Overall, the nerfs, the changes were primarily a nerf. They did hit him in the support role. They hit him in the jungle, just not as heavily, obviously, with the counter buff towards his Q. Overall, he's going to stay within the B tier. He's a easy to pilot champion, and now that he's a bit slower and doesn't have the ability to rotate his W as often as it was, just is a bit punishing to him. So yeah, B tier option. Nidalee is going to be moving down to my S tier, so Nidalee definitely got a bit weaker this patch with the nerf to Lichbane and the nerf to her movement speed and Q damage, losing 10% damage on her Cougar form Q against against marked targets and losing 5 movement speed. Definitely hurts her more in Elite, as these were kind of like Elite targeted nerfs. But she is still just going to be nerfed, within mid-elo as well, which is kind of where this tier list is targeted towards. So, yeah, she falls down a tier. Now more of an S-tier option. Of course, if you're able to snowball on this pick, then yes, she is really good still. The heal is still as strong as it was. And, yeah, it's still a solid option. Zac, going to move up into my S tier. So, Zac got adjusted this patch to kind of nerf down his power in lane, but keep his power within jungle neutral. Overall, it's ended up being power positive within the jungle. His W damage went from 35 to 100, 35 to 95, more than that one, to 40 to 80 now, which for lane where you max W first is a nerf, but for jungle where you max E first, it is going to stay strong until you hit like those 7 to 13 marks where you are now going to be losing a bit of power in this ability. Overall, he's still a solid tank option, good S tier pick within the jungle. So on the other side of things, so Volibear is actually going to move up into my S plus tier. So Volley is really strong on Sundered Sky at the moment, especially within solo queue. I'd really recommend going this route. You can of course still go down the tankier side of things if you are looking for those kind of options. But yes, Sundered Sky, Sterix are very good options on him. He's very simple to play. He has really good tower dives. If you're able to get going and like snowballing this champion, he's really oppressive and has great skirmishing power. Kha'Zix is going to stay within my S tier, but he's going to move up towards the high end of it. Kha'Zix is probably the closest thing towards the S plus tier at the moment. He has just benefited from a lot of the champions which have been nerfed. Combined with that, he's still a very strong lethality assassin. You can opt into things like Youmuu's. Hubris are very good. Hubris is really good if you are snowballing on this pick fairly consistently. First Strike and Dark Harvest tend to be the rune options. If you're able to get a lot of Dark Harvest stacks, then yes, the rune is still very effective. But if you're not, First Strike is great for being able to just scale throughout the game. Warwick is actually going to move up into my S tier, so Warwick is kind of sleeper OP at the moment. He's definitely in a very strong spot. He's of course more low elo skewed, but the likes of Titanic and Stridebreaker even are very good on him. He can of course still opt into Bork if you are looking at doing a huge amount of damage and but trade off for durability. Sterix is still a really solid option on him. Spirits is really valuable as he has a lot of healing and the shielding on Sterix can be amped by that. Overall, he's in a really strong spot at the moment. I definitely recommend picking him up if you are trying to climb. He is very solid. And then Talon is going to move up into my A tier. So Talon is one of the better performing lethality assassins. I kind of had him alongside Keanu and Zed, but he is a bit better than them. He is definitely strong, primarily because of his map mobility and his power in invades. But Youmuu's, Hubris, Profane Hydra, all very solid options on him. You can of course still go Grudge, but it's still a very valuable item on this champion. Edge of Night, of course, really good as well. There's just lots of options here. The champ's in a very good spot. Works quite nicely in the jungle. Of course, still a good mid laner as well. So, yeah, lots of power there. And then Mord and Teemo are going to move down to the B tier. Overall, they've just gone a bit weaker. With the nerfs to Riftmaker, for Mordekaiser, it has hit him a bit within the jungle. There are a lot of things which can kind of just answer him at the moment, but he is very simple to play. Same goes for Teemo. He is very simple to play within the jungle and has gotten a little bit weaker over time. With a couple of nerfs towards Teemo, he did get hotfix buffed at one point, but yeah, the changes ended up being kind of negative, so he has found himself within the beta. Overall, those are my thoughts on the jungle tier list. Thank you for watching. See you next one. Goodbye.